Welcome to Inner Mileage. My name is Dr. Narcissistic Transformational Coach here at Inner Mileage, where we help folks transform, optimize, and heal their lives so they can live more resonant lives. And today we're going to be talking about the scapegoat or black sheep in narcissistic dynamics. The scapegoat or black sheep in narcissistic dynamics, particularly narcissistic families and other types of narcissistic relationships. So, if you've ever felt unfairly blamed, misunderstood, or singled out for punishment within your family relationship, this video will reveal the truth behind those experiences. We're not just going to be exploring the dynamics at play, we're going to expose the harsh realities backed by data and real life stories to help you see the bigger picture about what it means to be a scapegoat or black sheep. So to begin, let's start with what a black sheep is or a scapegoat. A scapegoat is a person in the group or family who's unfairly blamed for problems, for dysfunctions, or failures that are not their fault. Now, the scapegoat becomes the target of misplaced anger, frustration, resentments, and ends up absorbing the fallouts from the group or individual's deeper issues. In a family with a narcissistic parent, for example, or a narcissistic partner, the scapegoat is typically the child or the partner who challenges the narcissist's facade of perfection or refuses to conform to the narcissist's demands. And this refusal to comply makes them a threat. And as a result, they're targeted for blame and punishment. You have to recognize that the biggest threat to a narcissist is the threat of being exposed or seen for the truth of who they are. So whoever deems it their role to expose a narcissist and can see through the narcissist, usually an empath who may not even know they're an empath, they become the scapegoat. And the scapegoat role is not just a dysfunctional dynamic. It's deeply damaging, very damaging to the so-called scapegoat. And the scapegoat internalizes the negative messages they receive, believing that they are fundamentally flawed, unworthy even. You live with this. And it can lead to a life of struggling with guilt, self-worth issues, and a perpetual state of not being enough. That's the damage that happens to the scapegoat before they hopefully awaken based on triggers from a very, very, very malignant narcissist. Now that we've defined what it means to be a scapegoat, let's explore how the dynamics play out in family settings, for example. In a family or families with narcissistic parents, the roles are often very unconsciously assigned. There's the golden child, there's the mascot. Today we're focusing on the scapegoat. And the scapegoat is the one who bears the brunt of the family's collective frustrations. Why does this happen? Why is the scapegoat ascribed all these unfortunate, unfair attributes? Well, it's because the narcissistic parent uses a scapegoat to deflect blame and protect their fragile ego, number one. And by projecting their own flaws and failures onto the scapegoat, the narcissist avoids responsibility and maintains the image of perfection. It's a twisted form of emotional survival. In fact, I remember at the age of 17, there was a scenario with my own father who told me I was going to be a failure. He said it very specifically and directly. You will fail. You're going to fail. You will fail. Well, I think I was about 16 or 17. And on that day, I decided his words didn't matter to my destiny. But I was still a very long way off from full awakening. And why did he say these words to me? It was because he was going through some difficult challenges in his own life. I understand that now. So it was easy to project that onto me by telling me that I will fail. And me, myself, now having an 18-year-old son, I can't imagine speaking those words. because words are spells, hence spelling. Words are spells. But in hindsight, after you wake up, you understand that being scapegoated was simply a projection. It's not who you are. It's a Jedi trick to make you think you are the negative aspects of the narcissist's internal state. Do you see the trick there? Now, the scapegoat dynamic doesn't stop at your family. It doesn't. It often carries over into intimate relationships because it's part of your program, your subconscious programming, subconscious, unconscious programming, and how you navigate the world. So if you are the scapegoat in your family, you might find yourself drawn to narcissistic parents who recreate that dynamic. It's as simple as that. It's a tragic but common pattern. I've experienced it until I woke up fully. And this pattern kept repeating over and over and over again until I got the message. You see, now in these relationships, the scapegoat becomes the target often of constant blame and critiques or criticisms. And the narcissistic partner really does this. They manipulate the situation to make the scapegoat always feel like you're the problem, reinforcing the sense of worthlessness and isolation. Because, case in point, it happened when you were a child, when I was a child. Now, gaslighting also happens where the narcissist causes the scapegoat to doubt their own perceptions, a common tactic used to maintain dominance and control. Case in point, a study conducted by the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence found that 70% of individuals who reported being in emotionally abusive relationships had also experienced scapegoating in their families of origin. 70%. This correlation is not a coincidence, as you can imagine. It's a pattern that often repeats itself unconsciously until it's addressed and broken. The stats are alarming. Narcissistic abuse in intimate relationships, for example, leads to higher rates of PTSD, with some studies actually showing that 80% of survivors from narcissistic families or intimate relationships suffer PTSD after the relationship has ended. PTSD, just like the children in the south side of Chicago, or the children in Gaza and other places. This is what happens. The children in war zones, it's extreme PTSD. And this highlights the wounds that can be inflicted by being a scapegoat, being scapegoated by a narcissistic family or parent. And so you may be thinking to yourself, well, okay, great. I know what a scapegoat is. I understand the scapegoat dynamic in narcissistic in relationships. It happened to me. What to do? What's next? And this is not going to be an exhaustive approach. Certainly, the first thing you can do is, when you realize this is happening, is to engage with a skilled coach like myself who's got the credentials and has had the experience of being through narcissistic abuse, or a mental health counselor or therapist that can help you navigate through it. But before we even get there, it's important to realize that the first step breaking away from this cycle is awareness, recognizing the pattern for what it is. It's not what the narcissist wants you to believe, their gaslighting techniques. Understand that the role of a scapegoat is not a reflection of your personality, your worth, or who you are. It's a role that you've been unfairly cast in by someone else who has a need for control. Healing from this experience requires a deep inner work. It really does. It's about reclaiming your identity, rebuilding your self-esteem, and learning to set boundaries that protect you and your loved ones from further harm. But in this case, we're focused on you. One of the most powerful tools to help with this is deep therapy, coaching, that can help you unearth the programming you received from being in this narcissistic dynamic. Breaking the cycle of narcissistic abuse, particularly if you've been a scapegoat, isn't just about realizing that it's happened to you, it doesn't necessarily also mean that you have to reconcile with the narcissists who've hurt you. It's about taking back your power. It's about taking back your power. Choosing your own path. Choosing your own path. And surrounding yourself with people who see and appreciate your worth. You don't compromise on that. As we wrap up, I want you to know that if you've been cast as a scapegoat, it's not your fault. It wasn't your fault. Yet, that experience was necessary to wake you up because your soul knew you needed those lessons to wake you up to your purpose. You're not the problem and you never were. The role of a scapegoat is a reflection of the narcissist's inability to face their own flaws. It's not a reflection of your value. If this resonates with you, I encourage you to explore deeply the resources we offer at Inner Mileage. You're not alone. Together, we can break the cycle and help you step into the life you truly deserve. Remember, your experience of narcissistic abuse was not to punish you, but to wake you up. And it's to wake you up to your true purpose. When you understand this, there's purpose to the pain you've experienced. I want you to remember there's no one like you. Absolutely no one like you. Which is why you went through this unfortunate cycle of abuse. And you had to experience it to convince you of the purpose that you were brought here to fulfill. So go on, heal, reach out to us. All details are below, and peace.